Another week or two.
They already finished the special. Ron?
Yeah.
And start the presentation. Please grab some pie. And we are going to start off by having our safety moment by Elizabeth. Hey, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Howe. I'm the Vice President of Administrative Services with a brief safety moment. So I just want to remind everybody that LPEA is considered critical infrastructure and we need to maintain a secure facility. So please, we ask that you do not wander around or enter into any buildings that could compromise our safety and security here. And while it is highly unlikely, if we need to collectively leave the truck barn all at the same time, please calmly exit the building. Take a look around for the exits closest to you. And if we find it necessary, we would meet at the primary muster area, which is in the front parking lot, northwest corner near Stewart Street. We would have staff guide or assist you there as well. And then just lastly, we have a restroom right outside the door, kind of over your left shoulder to my right. And that's it. Enjoy the pie, and we're glad you're here. Thanks for coming.
Okay, thank you again for everybody who is here today and joining, and for those of you that are online in Zoom. Great, and we'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And as we always do, please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, and let's go ahead and I'd like to ask for an attendance report.
All right, according to Article 2, Section 4 of LPEA's bylaws, 50 members present constitutes a quorum and for conducting business. We have over 50 members in attendance currently, and that includes both virtual and in-person attendance, so we do have a quorum.
Great, thank you. So the next order of business is appointing the acting secretary and parliamentarian for the meeting. I appoint LPEA's executive assistant, Janelle, as acting secretary. Janelle, do you accept the appointment?
Yeah.
Thank you. And as parliamentarian, I appoint LPEA's general counsel, Graham Smith. Graham, do you accept the appointment?
Yes.
Terrific, thank you. Next, I'm going to have the parliamentarian go over the official notice of the annual meeting and the standing rules and procedures.
Thank you, President Witchell. Pursuant to Article 2, Section 3 of LPEA's bylaws, a written and printed notice of this annual meeting stating the place, date, and hour of the meeting was sent to all members not less than 45 days nor more than 10 days before this meeting. This is the official meeting of the members for 2023. As for the standing rules, we have provided copies of this year's standing rules on the back of the agenda for those attending in person, and have provided a copy on LPEA's website for those viewing at home. May I have a motion to approve the standing rules?
So moved.
May I have a second? Second, all right. All in favor of approving the standing rules, please say aye. All opposed, say no. That motion carries. President Winchell, that's all I have regarding the notice and standing rules.
Terrific, thank you. The agenda for this meeting was posted on LPA's website on April 25th, more than 10 days before the scheduled time of this meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please? Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, hold your hand up and say aye. Thank you. All opposed? Excellent. So the motion carries. Thank you so much. Also posted at the time, also posted at the same time as the agenda was a copy of the 2022 annual meeting minutes. We get a motion to dispense with reading the minutes and approve them. Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, hold your hand up, say aye. Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Okay, and now let's move to reports, and we will start that with a 2022 highlights video. So thank you for joining all of us. We're excited to present this highlight video, annual report, and staff reports. The Q&A session will begin after the celebration of scholarship recipients and the election results. For those here live, you can submit your questions in writing at the Q&A table by the registration desk or by email at comments@lpea.coop. Billionth time. For those on Zoom, we're not accepting questions through the Zoom portal, so please email your questions to comments@lpea.coop. Submit your questions by the end of the staff report segment of the presentation around 5:30 p.m. You must include your name and district number to have your question considered. Because we're providing a hybrid annual meeting, we need to read the questions at the dais so that people on the Zoom call can hear them. We will address all questions on our website. If we run out of time in our live Q&A, you will find the submitted questions and answers there. We're going to start the presentation portion of the meeting with a short video highlighting some of LPA's accomplishments in 2022. If you have some issues seeing it over Zoom today, the video is also posted on LPA's YouTube channel for later viewing. Big thanks to our communication staff for putting all of this together. With that, let's see it.
Most people don't think about electricity until the power goes out. And that's okay, because at LPEA Electric Association, we've got your back. Powering our community since 1939, LPEA offers reliable, affordable, accessible power with a human touch. From heading out in the storm to get the lights back on, day or night, to launching innovative projects to keep power costs low, LPEA is committed to making our community a brighter place.
Hi, I'm Sean Mitchell. I am the LPA board president. There's a lot to celebrate in LPA's overall performance in 2022. To start, we did not raise our rates in 2021 or 2022. We returned $4.5 million to our members in 2022. When compared with other sources of energy over the past few years, LPA rates have remained stable and affordable, and we are very proud of this fact. LPA crews also successfully battled an epic winter this year. In December alone, LPA crews restored more than 4,000 members and 253 outages, all within 14 hours. Past years, outages during storms of this magnitude took days to restore. The board and LPA employees have continued to work together in lockstep to achieve our goals and continue to deliver our members reliable, affordable, clean, responsible power.
Hi, my name is Jessica Matlock, and I'm the CEO of LPEA Electric. LPA redoubled our efforts in 2022 to upgrade our electrical system to improve the reliability of your power. With the help of aerial drones, crews also fixed more than 250 separate issues on our infrastructure and conducted widespread vegetation management. This work has already paid off. Of the 253 outages this last December, less than 10 were caused by down trees and limbs.
Hi, I'm Dan Harms, Executive Vice President of Grid Solutions at LaPlata Electric. Wanted to come to you today to talk about some of the exciting things we've done at LaPlata Electric in the last year here. LPA continued to harden and improve our electric system and support our members in their electrification efforts in 2022 to prepare us for the future. One of the things that we did in 2022 was the installation of 3 advanced fault sensing devices called Vipers. Vipers will allow us to detect the faults more effectively and efficiently and react to faults at different times in different ways. On a red flag day, we certainly want to prioritize putting the power out as opposed to restoring the power immediately. This will help prevent any wildfires that might come around. Whereas in the wintertime, when lines might just be slapping together temporarily, we want to put people back into power as soon as we possibly can. These Viper and the advanced sensing devices will help us remotely change, reconfigure our system to help keep you in power while also reducing the chance of wildfire risk. We also surpassed our goals related to the cumulative beneficial electrification sales in our area. And you might be asking what beneficial electrification is. That is when we can electrify different things that you use in your everyday lives that both save you money and create a more environmentally friendly environment for us to be in. One example of that is that we added 80 electric vehicle chargers to our home charging program and successfully decreased electric vehicle charging during peak times to avoid the need for expensive grid upgrades and to avoid the expensive peak power charges that we would otherwise experience. We also established managed control of 20 grid-enabled water heaters throughout the atmosphere. Home park project. This not only allowed us to save our members money, but also allowed LPA to have a more effective and efficient use of the grid. And we issued 30% more rebates than we did in 2021 and 80% more than we did in 2020. The largest increases were outdoor power equipment.
Let's go ahead and hit pause here.
One more fun fact.
We'll hit pause. And let's go ahead. This video will be posted on our YouTube channel. And I think there's a lot of pretty terrific stuff. I think one of the things that the video did really well was highlight how much hard work goes into running LPA and in particular how well the staff did in what was undoubtedly a very challenging year. So I think on behalf of the membership, we're super grateful for all of that hard work by the staff members, and thank you for doing your best to keep the power on. You should definitely watch the whole video. It's pretty cool. All right, so moving on. So we'll now start the presentation portion of the event with the board president's report. Yeah, as I mentioned in the video, there are many things to be proud of when we're looking back on our performance in 2022. And some of our 2022 highlights include financial health. The staff has been working hard to control costs and find cost savings in how we do business, like automating labor-intensive processes, resulting in time efficiencies and paper savings. The best financial health in over a decade, which is pretty terrific. Debt has been reduced by 50% over the last 10 years, and we exceeded all of the board's 2022 financial goals. 2022 budgets stayed at 2021 levels, even with the inflation pressure. Member benefits, 4.5 million returned to members in 2022, stable rates since 2020, steady progress on power supply options to determine if there was a better way to serve our community. Board transition, uncontested board election in 2022. I want to take a moment to recognize two of our board members who are stepping down this year, Bob Lynch and Sue Williams. Bob has represented District 1 since 2014 and has been a major contributor to this board. I want to thank him for his 9 years of service and wish him well in his future endeavors. And I also want to recognize Sue Williams, who is here. Yes, in the back, if you could stand up to say hello. She also played an integral role in shaping LPEA's vision over the last 3 years, and we want to thank you for your dedicated service. I also want to, so this year, the board welcomes back returning board members John Lee to District 2 and Rachel Landis in District 3, who both ran unopposed and were reelected to their director seats for another 3-year term. We'll also soon welcome 2 members of the board who will begin their tenure as of June 14th, 2023 board meeting. Nicole Pitcher will be the new director in District 1, replacing Bob Lynch in an uncontested election. The new director in District 4, replacing Sue Williams, will be announced at the end of this meeting. So Nicole, where are you? Stand up and just say hello. And that I will now pass the floor to our CEO, Jessica Matlock, to highlight more of LPEA's 2022 operational achievements.
Great, thanks, John. So sorry about the video. We tested it numerous times in here today. So unfortunately, that's what happens. But a lot of what we'll cover today is actually in the video, just not all the pretty pictures, but we have some of those. Okay, this is our 5-year operational plan. And in this plan, it identifies 6 priority areas. This is the future of power for us, and it's exciting because what we talk about in this is we have reliable power through innovative partnerships, green power options, and a more efficient, cost-effective grid. As a member-focused cooperative for over 84 years, our board's vision of the future of the grid is our commitment to this community to leverage our resources and expertise to deliver consistent, high quality, and cost-effective power. In order to execute on our board's direction, our employees have developed this LPEA's North Star, which is safety, reliability, future planning and preparedness, strong financial health, local, clean, and affordable power, and community-based. The focus of this star, or that the heart of this star, are the employees that execute on these actions every day. So in the following presentation, you'll notice that our employees are committed to excellence and innovation. So I'm going to show you a series of slides with just a lot of numbers on these. The rest of the presentation, the folks up here on the dais will actually go into a little bit more detail. But I wanted to show some highlights. So our employees are empowered to find continuous improvement opportunities to improve our processes and to save LPEA members money. So one great example of this is the paperless campaign. So in 2022, 38% of our members switched to paperless. This alone saved our members $60,000 in 1 year. So that's just one example. Line workers continue to improve their safety practices and improve on their abilities and expertise. This is evident by them competing in a line worker rodeo where they came in 8th place. So we are really proud of these folks that went there. And we also take cybersecurity very seriously because sometimes cyber can actually turn off the lights. So we did our first ever planning exercise to mimic cyber attack, which was very successful. Okay. All right, this has a lot of numbers on this, but this is about keeping the lights on in this community. So we used drones for the first time ever to spot danger areas that our crews could not see. It also kept our crews safer because they weren't having to climb every pole. And many of these poles that we found were damaged. So we found over 252 emergency issues that could have turned off your lights. So we replaced over 86 broken cross arms, replaced 115 bad poles, and we replaced over 13 miles of old power lines. We installed over 124 devices to protect birds. Now, why that's important? Because a lot of these critters get up on the poles and they get on fire and they'll fall to the ground and could cause a fire. So that's why it's very important for us to put these protection measures up there. All these efforts really paid off, and Jerry's going to go through some of those, but we've had less outages due to equipment or maintenance needs that we fixed, and our line crews are bringing people back into power faster than ever. This is one of the other points of the STAR is sourcing clean local power costs. So I won't go into too much detail on this because Dan Harms will be going into detail on this. But we have successfully negotiated and secured an additional 2 megawatts of renewable power from Tri-State to develop a community solar garden. And the one that we are in the planning stages is going to be located near one of our substations near the Sunnyside Elementary. We continue to partner with Tri-State on power supply options, and we are monitoring our progress. So FERC stands for Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And Tri-State, for those that don't know, we receive all of our power from Tri-State. They have now become FERC jurisdiction. So everything that they have to get approval for rates and transmission and contracts has to get approved by FERC. So we are following that process in detail and partnering with FERC on many of these submittals that are going to FERC. Sorry, this is a working area, as you can tell. Our line crews are just coming in, some of them. Okay, so this is being a trusted community partner. And on this slide, this just really highlights the work that we've done with the community. So this year alone, we collected over $14,000 in the Giving Tree program. So that what that does is it helps many of our members who can't pay their electric bills. We provide for a donation system where a lot of our employees actually donate to this. And we are able to help those that are in low income situations pay for their energy bills. And typically this is around Christmas cold months. So this is really important to a lot of people. And thanks to the generosity of our members rounding up their electric bills. So that is our Roundup program. And we have a few people in here that are on the Roundup board. We were able to give $163,000 in grants to local nonprofits. Now, we also use our unclaimed capital credits. So those people that move away or that we can't reach, that will not receive their credits, those go into a fund. And we were able to give out $102,000 in scholarships to local students. So tonight, we're going to recognize the students that we gave these scholarships to. We also collected over 5,800 pounds of food through our several LPEA food drives. All right, this has maintained strong financial health. And again, Carl is going to go into more detail, so I'll hit some of the highlights. As John mentioned, we did not raise our rates in 2022, keeping local electricity rates stable, while prices for other energy sources have dramatically increased. For controllable costs, we were $1 million under budget, even with inflationary pressure. And we returned $4.5 million to members in capital credits. We invested $10 million in our infrastructure to maintain safety and reliability of our system. And after being near the bottom of the statewide rankings for electric co-ops for several years in terms of financial performance, we have risen steadily since 2019 and finished in 2022 in the top 3 best performing co-ops in the state. Okay, preparing for the future. So last year we managed over 2,100 kilowatts of energy. So what that means is it allowed us to potentially avoid higher cost power from Tri-State during peak power pricing. So that will be discussed in more detail by Dan, but it's a great opportunity to use our energy more efficiently so that we can store energy and then use it during times when Tri-State charges us the highest amount. So that's during typically between 4 and 9 p.m. And so what that helps us do is not have such a big power bill from Tri-State, because all of our power bills that we have to pay are passed through to the members. So then it's a reduced cost to the members. So that's why this is such a great effort. We also issued 30% more rebates to members than we did in 2021. So if you don't know about our rebates, we do have some information back there that talk about all the different rebates we have. Another fun fact is that 2 of our fast chargers are the most used in Colorado. We've also been hosting several beneficial electrification events to both educate contractors, but also to show members the benefits of heat pumps, electric heat pump water heaters, I don't know about you, but I finally got my electric leaf blower, and instead of I lost my arm workout, but it was a lot easier to handle. So those are some great rebates out there. Okay, and this is hard to see, I apologize, but I think the point we wanted to show you is that we wanted to look at our rates compared to other energy source rates across the US. And what you can see, I think everybody knows this, inflation has gone up dramatically. So our costs have increased by 50% on material items. So I think that's just a testament of how hard the staff has been working, is that even though costs have gone up 50% for steel, poles, wires, everything you see out here, even the trucks, we have still been able to maintain our costs because our staff are brilliant. They've been finding continuous improvement opportunities to shave on controllable costs and don't have to increase rates. So that's great news. So what this shows, though, is that we're the green line. We are the green flat line. When gas, everything else, I don't know about your gas bill, but mine went through the roof. Well, because rates dramatically increased for gas. So ours have stayed stable, and that's a good news. And we're going to keep working towards that. Okay, now I'm going to hand this over to Dan.
Great, thank you, Jessica. Well, that was a great preview of our North Star, and thank you guys once again for all coming out here and joining us today. I'm going to take a deeper dive on a couple of these points on the North Star, and I'm going to touch a little more on power supply and our utility of the future, preparing for the future efforts here. So first I want to jump into some of the power supply aspects. And as you're probably aware, for the last few years, we've been taking a three-pronged approach to our power supply efforts. That means we are chasing three different avenues when we're looking at power supply. We're looking at flexibility within our existing contract from Tri-State. We're looking at a partial exit from Tri-State, sometimes referred to as a buy down payment. And we're also looking, the third option being a full exit from Tri-State. And so all these options could provide savings to our members, and that's what our objective is here. And so I'm going to go through these three prongs real quick on some of the progress that we've made in 2022. The first being flexibility here. And as Jessica mentioned earlier, we did acquire the flexibility by negotiating with Tri-State to have another 2 megawatts of solar that we could add to our generation portfolio. And so that's a great addition, and we're working on leveraging that right now. And hopefully we'll be seeing a new solar project that I think will be very visible to a lot of our membership and will be a good addition there. The next one I'll touch on here is our partial exit portion of it. Now, we made great headway on this in 2022. We negotiated a historical settlement with Tri-State and the other co-ops that were involved with a partial exit. Unfortunately, the settlement was opposed at FERC, which ultimately meant it was not approved. And so that we sort of ran out of steam on that one, but it's gaining steam again because we're looking at other options in that arena as well. Then on the third prong being the full exit, we're still pursuing that one as well. And there was an exit fee proposal that was provided to FERC in 2022. And they're evaluating that proposal and should pass a ruling on that in July of this year. So coming pretty soon, we'll hopefully know methodology and be able to determine a number, which is a missing piece of the puzzle that we need for the analytical portion of determining how well that option makes sense to us and our members. So looking forward to that one more piece of information coming up here shortly. Now I want to touch on some of the things that we're doing to prepare for the future here. I'm going to hit on three things, and these are all things that are going to be bringing lower rates to our members, as well as providing more resiliency within our cooperative, keeping the lights on more, providing us the ability to have an adaptable grid that'll work for us in the future of renewable resources as they come in. The first thing I want to touch on is the electric school bus. Now, this one was introduced to us. We have received a grant for that in 2021, but in 2022, we were really able to leverage and use that asset as a portion of our grid to bring power back onto the grid during peak power times. So with this school bus, we're not only able to prevent it from charging during on-peak times, but we can actually use the battery that it has, release that energy during on-peak times to further reduce the electric cost to all of our members. Then another thing that we're doing that is along the same lines is working on a really innovative, first of its kind demonstration project that allowed LPEA utility control of super efficient heat pump water heaters. This is a project that we did up at the Riverview Park there to do that, and we did 20 water heater installations there to control those and ensure that they once again are not on during peak, while keeping the members' bills low. And so it was a win-win for La Plata Electric for not having to buy on-peak power, and for the member that now has a cheaper way to heat their water, even than the natural gas that was originally in their home. So we're excited to see that work, trying to demonstrate that as a project that we can encourage all across our system. And the last thing I want to highlight is our EV charging program. You may have heard from the booth back there regarding the different rebates that we have, that if you purchase an electric vehicle, La Plata Electric will provide them a vehicle charger. And that vehicle charger comes with some management aspects on it that allow us to control when those vehicles charge. Because we have a lot of electric vehicles that are coming onto our system. The last thing we want is those vehicles charging during our peak times. If they charge during our peak times, that means we have to add more facilities. To keep the rates down for everybody, it's best if we can keep those charging off our peak times. Now, what this graph here demonstrates is the typical charging profile over a one-day period of a managed vehicle. This is actual data that we're receiving from our data collection system. And what the red block is the peak times. That's when we typically have a peak on our system in the early evening hours. So we want to make sure the vehicles aren't on during that time. And so what this is showing is the vehicle is definitely not charging during those peak times. We want to emphasize charging during the day when we have abundant solar resources, or in the evening when the loads are down very low. So those were the highlights from Utility of the Future and Power Supply. Pass it on to Jerry now.
Evening, everybody. I'm Jerry Sutherland, VP Operations. So we finally had a winner. Winner to this was 2008 in terms of a number of outages and snowpack. That year, many permanent residents were out of power for well over a week. This year, our longest outage for permanent residents was only 14 hours. Our outage times and our outage frequencies continue to decrease for several reasons. First, our engineering and IT departments, they are constantly looking for improvement opportunities. Things like our aging infrastructure and overloading. We take their studies and their work plans and we implement them in the field as operations. Overall, improving the system and increasing reliability. They also continuously implement new technology that can isolate lines, that can locate the problem for us and reduce the outage times for you, our members. Our metering system and our dispatch data control have been a huge player and cut down on our outage times. They can predict where faults are, they can verify and sometimes restore the issue. The processes are very accurate, very timely, and ultimately they keep our crews safer in the fields. Next are our communications and member services teams. They have helped keep our members apprised to all sorts of situations, but especially during major outages. They work side by side with us in operations all hours of the day and night to give you guys the most real-time updates available. They love getting out in the elements. These pictures were taken by them to take photos of our crews to show what they go through to help keep the lights on. These are our managers and dispatchers. They monitor the system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. When there's an outage, they're the first to know. They contact the line workers on call, they dispatch them to the outages, and their coordination, their quick thinking, and their attention to detail continue to improve our efforts in the field. They help ensure the safety of our crews as well. Our line managers have created a family. These crews look out for each other. They rely on each other. And in times of need, everyone is willing to drop whatever they're doing to come in and help out. We have a phenomenal group. They take great pride in the craft. And in my 23 years here at LPEA, I haven't had a more tight-knit group whose number one focus is safety than the group that we have now. They're friends, they're family. In December of last year, they responded to 253 individual outages that affected thousands of members, and they restored them all. For 68 hours straight, they rotated on 16-hour schedules for 3 consecutive days. Many of these areas were inaccessible to trucks. That meant that the power lines down, the broken poles, the broken cross arms, the trees through the line, they had to hike through feet of fresh powder, carrying loads of material and tools, climb each structure. They worked nonstop, sometimes in blizzard-like conditions, to get the lights back on. But they did not stop until the last member was back on. They constantly miss holidays, birthdays, anniversaries, but they take great pride in it. One of our linemen drove Christmas Eve, missed his newborn's first Christmas, drove back over to Wolf Creek to come back and assist. That's the kind of group that we have. In 2022, we managed 616 unplanned outages that affected over 43,000 members. No outage is the same. We encounter everything from dig-ins, vehicle accidents, wildfires, and of course the elements in every single season. And our crews are always out there on the front lines, restoring the power. However, I will never choose speed over safety. So remember, when your lights go out, we will not stop working until every last member is back in power. But we are going to take the time to do it safely so these guys can return home to their families. They really are true first responders, and they are true heroes. And this year has been tougher than most. We lost one of our heroes, Jurgen Montgomery. He passed away this last winter in a skiing accident. He was one that would drop absolutely whatever he was doing when that phone rang, and he would come in to help the crews. And we aren't perfect. There's a chance you're going to experience an outage, but just please remember the men and women who are out there on the front lines trying to get your lights back on. Thank you. Now I'm going to hand it over to Carl.
Thank you, Jerry. So I have to follow that. And I'm going to be talking about finances and accounting. So strap in. So as was made clear by what Jerry was talking about, we've used another great picture from our communications team as our title page for the financial report. I did have an action shot of myself with a calculator, but that was decided not to be appropriate. So let's dig in. Before we look at our first financial chart, I want to follow up on one of the things Jerry said. We never compromise safety, and we're always working towards improving reliability. And he talks about from 2008 to 2022 with those 2 huge winters and the comparison from a week to 14 hours, correct? 14 hours. I'm sure being out of power for 14 hours isn't fun, especially in the cold, but for a week, it's unimaginable. So we have improved our processes, we've made things more reliable, and we continue to do so safely. Those things are absolutely non-negotiable. So it's my duty as the financial custodian to safeguard you, the members' assets within the co-op. But I can never do that by compromising on safety and reliability. It's absolutely non-negotiable. So let's take a look at this first chart. So what we're looking at here is two things. Kind of on one side of this graph is a measurement of our equivalent of, your FICO score, how credit worthy you are. If they'll give you a loan for a car, and that green bar represents LPEA over the years. And as you can see, it's had some ups and downs. And in 2022, it was at its highest point for 10 years, which President Mitchell referenced earlier. And that yellowy, orangey, goldy, other color thing, that represents the average for the other electric distribution co-ops in Colorado. We're very fortunate in that all of those results get collated every year, so we can compare ourselves not just with all the other electric co-ops in Colorado, but throughout the entire United States. So we're comparing ourselves to the other 21 co-ops in Colorado here. And you can see we were significantly above average compared to that line. Now that big black squiggle is references the scale on the right, and that's our ranking. Now you can see in 2019, wasn't looking so good. 2014, not so good either. So middle of the pack was about as good as we could do. But in 2022, as Jessica mentioned, we were in the top 3, and I'm very proud of that. Very proud of my team and the entire LPEA team. Because the way they do that is by controlling the costs of the cooperative, but they only have a certain amount of costs they can control. Because obviously, as we've already mentioned, reliability, safety, non-negotiable. There's an expense there that will make the crews safer and make the service more reliable. We will spend it. So how did we do this? How did we increase our ranking over this period? So on this graph, I'm looking at what we call our controllable costs. So for each dollar we receive, we have about 23 cents that goes towards these controllable costs. From that, we have to pay our staff, maintain this building, maintain our vehicles, all of that good stuff. These are what we control. And without compromising safety and reliability, and I'm going to keep saying it, I'm sorry to be repetitive, but it's so important, we control these costs. We know what inflation is doing to pretty much everything we buy. So this is a tough ask. And it's something that not just the finance department does. In fact, we're really the record keepers. And every single employee in this cooperative has to justify what they spend and to think, is this best for the cooperative? And they have done an extraordinary job. From 2020 to 21 to 22, we've seen 3 years of a decline in what we've spent in this controllable area. Now, what that represents is only a fraction of a cent, because that's what we spend per kilowatt hour sold. So that might not seem overly impressive, but consider we sell nearly 1 billion kilowatt hours. Those fractions of a cent equal hundreds of thousands of dollars. As Jessica mentioned, we were $1 million under budget in 2022, and that budget would have still seen us under those 2 lines that you see, which reference, as I mentioned earlier, the Colorado average and the average of the United States as a whole. So we come in significantly under that average, and we have done that pretty consistently over the last 6 years, as you can see. But what I'm more pleased with is that we've kept it very stable in the last 3 years. So how do we do that? Well, we have our controllable costs and we budget, and we have strict methods of approval for expenses. But there's another lever that we can pull, or lever if you're speaking English. Speak American. And that's related to our long-term debt. So we have over $300 million worth of electrical infrastructure. That's not something you can go and buy just through 1 month's income. So not many of us can go and buy our house with our paycheck. So having debt is something that a distribution co-op, especially of our size, has to have. But the level of that debt is something we can control. Now, this graph represents how much debt we have per member over the last 10 years. And the current debt that we have now was 50% higher 10 years ago. So we have essentially paid down 50% of our mortgage over the last 10 years. The less debt we have, the less interest we have, the less cash is going out the door. Now it's likely that we will have to borrow again. In fact, it's not likely, it's definite as we upgrade our system. But we will do so carefully, and we will do so for the best deal for our members. We want to keep this number low. We want to control every cost we possibly can. So it's important to control, let's say that again. It's important to control costs when we are reducing our debt, because we need to ensure that our members are able to benefit from their ownership of the cooperative. So it will be all very well if we're not borrowing and we're controlling costs, you as members are not seeing the benefits. So let's look at this next chart. This represents the cash that's been paid back to the members in patronage capital retirements. So for most of us, that means the credit you get on your bill. If you're someone who uses an awful lot of electricity, or you have a commercial account, you may receive a check. But you can see in the last 5 years, we have paid out more patronage capital cash to our members than at any other point in our history. And you can see the constant increase in this. So as we've been reducing our debts, effective cost controls have enabled us to return more cash capital in capital credit retirements than ever before. As President Mitchell mentioned, that was $4.5 million in 2022. We invest in our infrastructure to ensure safety and reliability. We invest in our people. We invest in the cooperative. But most of all, we take care of our money, we take care of our members, and we return everything we can to you. So here's a summary of what comes in and what goes out. So on the left is our revenue. The blue, orange, and gray, you can see makes up the vast majority there. That's from our residential and commercial members. We also have some other income streams. Usually we would receive an allocation from Tri-State, our power provider. They had a tough year, 2022, so we're not able to give us anything in 22. But as you can see, we generate all of our revenue, more or less, from you, our members, using electricity. On the right side, you can see our expenses. So I don't think you'd be surprised to know that huge blue slice is our power cost. That's 62 cents. Every dollar we receive goes on power. Now, those controllable costs that I was talking about earlier, those are the orange and the gray slices. So as I mentioned, that's 23 cents each dollar we receive. Those are our controllable costs. That's where we make sure we do not waste a dime, do not waste a penny even. Here's another representation of that with our stylized dollar bill there. So as you said, 62 cents goes on power, 38 cents on everything else. So that's those controllable costs, that's maintaining our infrastructure, servicing our debt. And we also add the margin that finances our future investments and which is returned to you in those capital credit retirements that we mentioned earlier. So that's all I have. Hopefully that wasn't too much of a yawn, but Unfortunately, we don't go out in the snow and risk our lives, but we do man a mean calculator. So I'll go back to Jessica now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so now we are going to announce the scholarship recipients and give them their awards. So it's my absolute honor to now kick off the awards ceremony. As some of you may know what we talked about, LPA offers scholarships to graduating high school seniors and GED earners each year to help them pursue their dreams. It's important to the future of our communities that employers support a skilled and educated future workforce, specifically in the STEM fields. I know that we have actually hired past scholarship recipients, so it's fantastic that we are investing in our youth and that they're coming back and reinvesting in our communities. Just a little plug for those getting their scholarships tonight. All right, 2023 LPA awarded $101,000 in scholarships to 8 local high school seniors. Recipients were selected based on merit by a local committee comprised of 11 individuals from across LPA's 4 districts. Most of these scholarships are funded by LPA's unclaimed capital credits, with the exception of the Tri-State Scholarship being funded by Tri-State. So first, I would like to recognize all of our LPA scholarship recipients. And after we recognize everybody, and I'll have a slide for them, I'll ask that everybody come up and join us on stage. Okay, so this is Sophia Maines. She's from Durango High School, and she's going to study, and get this one, this is pretty amazing, electrical and nuclear engineering at the University of New Mexico. So congratulations, Sophia. And Zane Ross from Ignacio High School is going to study to be an electrician at Lincoln Technical College. Also wonderful. And hopefully they both come back to work for us at LPEA. Okay, the 2023 John Volker Memorial Scholarship, which offers $10,000 at any university, community college, vocational, or technical school, goes to Rebecca Latham from Durango High School to study business and agriculture at Western Colorado Community College. And Aiden Rosenberg from Durango High School to study physics and aerospace engineering at the Colorado School of Mines. Okay, the 2023 LPA Lineman Scholarship, which offers $12,000 for line school, goes to Justin Rivas from Pagosa Springs High School to study to become a journeyman at Northwest Lineman College. And Kyler Hammer from Pagosa Valor Academy to study to become a journeyman at Western Colorado Community College. All right, and finally, the 2023 LPA Scholarship, which provides $28,000 at any university or college, goes to Aliza Bozeman from Durango High School to study computer and mechanical engineering at Georgia Institute of Technology. And Rio Edmondson from Goal High School to study political and environmental science at Eckerd College. So congratulations. Okay, so now it'd be great if those that are here that receive scholarships, can you please come up to the podium and we'll give you your certificate. Tyler is here, so congratulations. Thanks for coming. Your dad made you though, right? All right, congratulations. Okay, now Sophia, congratulations. And Rebecca. Okay, thank you. Congratulations. Okay, we've been offering these scholarships for decades and are proud to have, like I mentioned, a handful of previous recipients working with us at LPA. So regardless of where these students go, we congratulate them and wish them the best of luck. So let's give them one more round of applause.
Great. Thank you so much. And congratulations again to all the scholarship recipients. It is now my pleasure to invite Tiffany Lee, La Plata County Clerk and Recorder, to the front to report on the results of the 2023 LPA Director election for District 4 and the proposed bylaw amendment. Come on down.
Well, thank you guys. As always, it's an honor to serve as your designated election official for LPEA. And yeah, so just thank you. I appreciate it. So we had a total ballots cast of 6,083. And for District 4, John Purser received 769 votes. David Lushin, hopefully I'm saying that, Lushin, 1,187. So the director elected for District 4 is David. For your bylaw amendment, the yes votes, 3,973, no vote, 2,021. So the vote for the bylaw amendment passes as a yes. Hereby give you the certified result. There's 2 copies there, and then also the conditions. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany. And congratulations to the LPA's newest board member for District 4, David Lushin. David's here today. Why don't you stand up and so everybody see your face, say hello. Congratulations. So now we'll transition to the Q&A section. As stated earlier, because we have people on Zoom, we'll need to read the questions so that they can hear. And if we run out of time, we will post the questions and answers on your on the website at lpa.coop/annual-meeting. I'll hand over to Jessica to facilitate the Q&A section.
Thank you. So we didn't have anybody in here write their question. So if you have a question, we'll give you a microphone so people can hear. We do have one question that was submitted online, so I'll read that. This is from John Buren. I apologize if I didn't get that right. He's from District 4. How come electric in Fort Myers, Florida costs 1/3 less per kilowatt? They're using natural gas as a source of energy. Also, they're using air conditioning this year round. Dan, do you want to address the rate?
Yeah, there's of course a lot of factors that go into that. First off, we're not Florida. We have a lot of mountains around here. So we have, and Jerry talks about the challenging winters we have. It takes different type of construction. We have rock to build through. That's could be one of many different factors that could be out there. It could be anything from gas prices that are available at different things. We just have different power supplies as well. And this is maybe can also bring up an important part of why we want to continue to explore power supply options that are out there. If there is something that's less expensive than we're buying today, we want to be part of that. And so, if we can reduce our power by 1/3, that'd be wonderful.
And if you could state your name and what district you're in, please.
Michaela Gastile, District 4. Can you give reasons why you would want to leave tri-state? you think you could get better sources of energy cheaper, or what do you, does Tri-State require you to have certain percentage of different sources and you want to be released from that restriction or?
That's a great question, Akila. Much like any kind of investment that anybody makes, we want diversification. We don't want necessarily to all be tied to one particular source. If it can be part of our power portfolio, then that'd be a great thing. But we feel that what we've seen in other markets, I think we have opportunities that are out there that we want to explore. We also have a lot of just excellent opportunities within our own service territory that we could develop and take advantage of. We are in a prime solar area of the United States, and that combined with energy storage and possibly some wind that we can bring in, that could possibly bring our power supply and costs down. We aren't saying that we are leaving Tri-State, we're saying we're looking at different options. And so once we get all the numbers and we can run this and see if we have more opportunities to bring the costs down for a more reliable, resilient power supply, that's what we certainly want to do for all of our members.
Does the federal government, FERC or whatever, restrict you the same? Will you have the same kind of restrictions if you leave Tri-State?
No, we'll continue to be governed by our 12 board members.
I mean, FERC, they govern what Tri-State could do, don't govern La Plata if you leave.
No, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission only regulates Tri-State. They do not regulate electric cooperatives because we are exempt in the Federal Power Act. It's a federal piece of legislation. Tri-State was not jurisdictional by FERC until last year because they added some members that are actually not electric co-ops to their membership, such that it removed their exemption from the Federal Power Act legislation. So we are exempt under the Federal Power Act. And so if we left Tri-State, we would be only governed by our board of directors, not by FERC. Now, we do have some requirements that we have to file at FERC, and that's for interstate transmission. If we dealt more in bringing power across state lines, then we would have some jurisdiction. But if we left Tri-State, we are not FERC jurisdictional. Does that help?
Yes, and how would that be beneficial? What would it free you up to do that you can't do when you're under FERC? I mean, Tri-State, which is under FERC.
So what we have right now is basically an all requirements contract with Tri-State where we have to buy all of our power from them. Now that was amended a while ago to have 5% of self-generation, which we maxed out. So we have all the rooftop solar and stuff like that in our area. We aggregate that, cuts into that. And then we have negotiated, as we discussed in the presentation, an additional 2 megawatts of community solar garden to be carved out of that 100%. But we can't buy electricity from anybody other than Tri-State right now. And a part of our 3-pronged strategy of energy negotiations is to see what our options are with Tri-State about different power purchase options from them, or purchasing some of our power from them and generating some of it ourselves, or leaving Tri-State altogether and buying it on the market. And it's a very complicated negotiation where we would then sort of have to look at the market and compare that to staying with Tri-State.
Yeah, and I'd also mention that the board has made a position where they would not leave Tri-State for higher cost energy. So your original question was, what would the benefits of us leaving Tri-State be? We don't know yet, and that's what we're looking at. But what we know is that there could be more affordable energy on the market somewhere else. And I'm not just talking about renewables. I'm talking about base load generation. It could be natural gas combined with wind energy, with solar energy that would lower our costs of energy. So if you remember what Carl showed, that dollar, like there's a large portion of our money that goes to Tri-State for power costs. Could we lower that bucket if we would sure like to look at it and see. But don't forget, one of the options is still partnering with Tri-State on a win-win solution for them, which is a partial. So keep that in mind, is that it benefits Tri-State to do the partial because they're required by the state to close down coal plants. And so they need to drop load. They actually need, they have to find ways where either they build more generation or they drop load. And so they've offered to us to say, hey, La Plata, would you guys want to develop your own load? It reduces our costs, but it would help you because you're in Four Corners. You have potentially better opportunities to develop cheaper energy around this area. It's a pretty complicated issue. We can talk afterwards too, but it's a great question. Okay.
Thanks, Kirsten Skin from the Best District. That's District 1 over in Pagosa. I know this week that the Tri-State Board sent a rate change up to FERC and it has to get approved and all that, so it could be a while in coming. But we just heard that we've been able to maintain rates, and we know that y'all negotiated with Tri-State to reduce their energy costs to us for the past couple of years, but that's going to go up. And so, well and good, but 62% of our costs go to someplace that we know it's going to go up. So can we talk for a second about what we might be expecting to see this next year?
So Tri-State passed this in a public session, is that right, Kohler?
Yes.
The budget, yes. So Tri-State, they are in a very difficult situation because as we talked about inflation, energy costs are going up for everybody. The cost of fuel is going up to run their plants, and the cost of infrastructure is going up. So Tri-State needs to raise their rates, and they are, and they've just informed us that they're raising La Plata's rates by over 6%, and that will happen in 2024. So we are waiting because they have to file that at FERC this week. I believe they told us they'll send all the filings in tomorrow. Then it takes a while for FERC to accept it. And then if FERC accepts that filing, then they will increase rates January 2024, and we will have to pass that on. So thank you for bringing that up, Kirsten. The outlook is very rosy from our perspective of what we're doing to control costs. We're going to continue to look for efficiencies so that we can manage that, but there will be some announcements in the future that Tri-State's raised rates by over 6% for La Plata members, and that will have to be a pass-through.
I'm Susan Livenick. I'm in District 3. The first year I was here, which was 13-14, there was a pretty good storm. Surprised me, I haven't encountered it before. But I clearly remember that people up in the Bayfield area were without power for days and days. And the problem was transformers. And so my question is just how do you expedited supply chain issues on things like equipment? It's supposed to be a simple question.
It's too.
Yeah, so there's two parts to that. It isn't super complicated, but one part is from the finance side, and then I'll hand it over to Jerry for what they're doing on the operations side. So part of my group, my wonderful finance team, they work with Jerry's team on procurement and purchasing. And yeah, some of our transformers, especially some of the bigger ones, we're being told the lead time is 2 years, in some cases 3 years. But we have some very detail-oriented people who have put a mountain of information into their system to track what we've got, what we might need, and how quickly we can get it. And thus far, they've been able to keep us going. I want to give them huge credit for that. It was an initiative that they initiated. Of course it was. But what was funny is we have a group where myself and my peers from all over Colorado meet, one of them was very proudly presenting, oh, we have this system to monitor our transformers. And Monica, my controller, said, she sent me a message, goes, that looks like ours. I'm like, yeah, that's right, but we're not showing off. We've already done it. So we've done a really good job with what we have, and we will continue to just use the market in the most effective way possible and to use our data to track things quickly, efficiently, and make sure we've got what we need in stock. But there's also another side to this, which I will pass over to Jerry.
From an operational standpoint, a lot of what we had planned for in our backup plans, if something catastrophic were to happen, it all comes down to teamwork and collaboration. Starts with our engineering department and then the finance team, and then it comes back to us as in operations, and then this is Garrett Hammer, our Pagosa Springs district manager. Him and I have a great relationship, and we work very closely together. Sometimes it feels like they're a separate co-op at times, just because of the distance, but we've bridged that gap where if they have something we need, we'll work together to make it work. And lastly, it comes down to very good management of our jobs, of our maintenance, and from our line supervisors and our warehouse. And their communication has been phenomenal. When we can put jobs off to save these transformers, if we are running short on them, then we do so. And it's just great management of the whole process. So I'm super proud of our team. Supply chain has been a major issue this year, as everybody knows, and we have only had to put off a handful of jobs, and it was for a very short period of time. And it all comes down to the management of these guys. They've done a great job. Does that answer your question?
Hi, I'm Michael Drake from District 3. This is my first meeting I've been able to attend as a member of LPEA. And with the ever-changing status of drivers at Growing City and the increasing number of people that are renting, and oftentimes not members of LPEA, but still being served by our cooperative, what efforts are you doing to ensure that you're receiving input from people that aren't able to vote on these issues, that aren't able to be on paper members of the cooperative, are still people that are stakeholders in how we use our energy and using the benefits of what we make or distribute energy?
Yeah, Dan, so all of our renters have accounts. So unless the landlord in his name, but to your other point, so let's say there are some people here that are not members. So how are they able to effectively communicate and give us feedback, right?
Yeah.
So there's a number of ways on our website, which is not the best, but it's how we can best reach some of these people, where we do ask for feedback, right? So there's a comment section. They can call into the office. We do solicit. We do have yearly member surveys that go out. Now, it's a good question. I don't know if they only go out to members or if we're able to send them out to residents. So we can look into that. I think it's also up to, we don't know who a person is if they're not a member, right? And that's just knowledge that we don't have. And if someone doesn't approach us, how would we know to approach them and do that? But we do solicit feedback on our website and have amazing MSRs who were signing you in at the beginning, who are manning these phones long periods of time during the day, 7 to 6. And so if someone does have feedback, we encourage them to do that. So I don't have the best answer for you because it's really tough to find who's not a member and ask for feedback.
Would it be fair to say that anyone could be that is residing in this area could be encouraged to
Yes,
feedback through the website. And that's
100%, or call in. Yeah.
Cool, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the point is that we find opportunities of improvement. We've had members call us and give us ideas for how to reach XYZ, or this is how it was perceived that you sent out this notice. It's very educational to us, actually. Helps us improve. Thank you. Thanks, Ruby. Do you have a question? Right.
Just a little bit more information as a board member and the operations and the whole team on the question of the Bayfield outage. They've gotten some redundant circuits where they can bypass some of this stuff and isolate to where not so many people are out of power. It's just a matter of upgrading our system and keeping the number of people affected down. So that's a point that I think is very important. And as a board member, I applaud that effort.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I think that's a really good point to bring up, is that Dan and his team and Jerry and the crews and Garrett, they've been working really hard to create redundancies, right? A single point of failure is not a good sign, even for cyber. So Drew's our head of IT, and I think that's what keeps him up at night, is a single point of failure even for cyber. It's the same thing with the electrical system. We want to make sure we're creating redundancies and resiliency. Being in the Southwest is really difficult because we don't have a lot of backups, right? Tri-State sends in power from single lines. That's another thing of looking past Tri-State, is that look where this world is going. We want to make sure that we stay under power in the Southwest, and having a single point of failure, one transmission line, or if you bring power to our area, why wouldn't we want to locally generate, so that if those power lines are taken down by who knows what, could be cyber, terrorists, major storms, fires, I would rather keep our lights on here locally because we have more control over that. But yeah, to the point that Dan brought up, thank you. That's what we're working towards. Okay, any other questions? And then we'll another one.
My name is Lissa Ray. I live in Durango, District 3. And the first thing that I want to say is thank you, all of you who are working behind the scenes, staff, board, leadership. Thank you so much. It's been quite a journey, as far as I'm concerned, to get here to where we are. My question is for Carl, and this could be a little bit nerdy, but you mentioned margins very briefly. Can you speak more to how margins of co-op and the range in which you have to work with?
Sure. It's not nerdy at all. It's great stuff. So, as you know, as a member-owned cooperative, we are a non-profit organization. We don't make a profit. But that said, each year we ensure that our expenses are lower than our income. The difference between the two is, as you rightfully say, margin. Now that margin goes into a bucket that we sometimes refer to as patronage capital. And that forms what we call the working capital of the cooperative. So when I was talking about how we reduce our debt, the way we can do that is by using that working capital to finance our construction projects, our resiliency projects, maintaining safety, maintaining our infrastructure. So the difference between our income and our expense really keeps the cooperative going each year without having to borrow. And what we will do, as you know, is that all of that margin at the end of each year is allocated to each of you. And it's allocated on the basis of the amount of electricity you use. So it's quite a complicated calculation, so I just do it in my head. But no, obviously there's thousands of you, and this year there was approximately $3.5 million margin to allocate among the members. So that is in your account. And we give you a statement of that each year. And you should be getting those very shortly. So what we do is, on your behalf, we use the money in your account to keep the cooperative going, to finance our needs. But regularly we say, okay, we were able to use that money and we're in good shape now, so let's give it back. And that's what the whole retirement process is. It's taking that profit, if you like, but really it's our margin, and saying to you, who are all the owners, here's your portion back. Now, sometimes it does take, more regularly, we use what we call a first in, first out retirement, which means we've got margins that have been around for 20 years. That's our maximum. So some of you who may be new to the area, that none of that was allocated to you. But for some of you who've lived here for a good time, then that's coming back. We also do something called a last in, first out, which is where we will retire margins that were allocated only a year or two ago. So both of those can happen. We're getting into the weeds a little bit now, but essentially the margin is kind of the profit, but not really, because we give it back to you. If we were a private corporation and you were the shareholders, we would be giving you the profit, but instead you're the owners. So we give it back to you as patronage retirements. Does that make sense?
Percentage. What's our average percentage?
Of margin? Between 2 to 4. 2 to 4% of our, so let's say you've got 100% is your revenue and 96 to 98% is your expenses. So the rest is allocated to the membership. Good, lovely, thank you.
Good question. Some more.
Although I think everybody's ready for the door prizes. All right. Okay.
Okay, so the last part, thank you for all the questions. And now for the last part of the agenda is door prizes.
Oh.
Everyone who is present in person today should have been given a raffle ticket. I will now draw 5 tickets. Your number is drawn. You can collect your door prize at the door prize table. Okay, the winner of the Ryobi fan is 8652944. Yay, in the back. Thank you. The Ryobi drill is 8652955. Yes, that's you. Nice. Okay, for the shop vac, this time I'll actually read it correctly and not just make the number up. My glasses on. 103447. There you go. And the electric leaf blower goes to 8652951. There you go. And the grand prize winner of an electric chainsaw, there it is, 103463. There it is. All right. Okay, and thank you everyone for attending. This meeting is officially adjourned.